Hello and welcome to Saras's classes. Today we are going to solve one problem from test of mathematics at 10+2 level, which is very well known by Tomato. This book is published by Indian Statistical Institution to help students in their preparation for ISI entrances. So let's proceed the problem. Here box of x is given, which is we all know that box of x denote the largest integer less than or equal to small x. Here we are given an example, that is 4.5. Box of 4.5 is equals to 4 and box of 4 is equals to also 4, and we have to draw rough sketches of the graphs of the following functions on the paper, that is f of x equals to box of x, g of x equals to x minus box of x, and h of x equals to 1 by box of x. So let's start with the first one, which is f of x is equals to box of x. Okay, so first we write the table of different values corresponding to x and y. So let's start with 0, closed interval 0, open interval 1. This results in 0 in y. The next will be 1 to less than 2, which results in 1. Therefore the third is 2 to less than 3, which results in 2, and 3 to less than 4, which results in 3, and so on. Now we have to draw the required graph. So this is our coordinate axis with points from 0 to 4 at x-axis and 0 to 3 on y-axis. Okay. Now for the first one, that is 0 to less than 1, we have the values of y as 0. So let's denote it by this. Okay. Now for the next one, that is 1 to less than 2, for this the value of y will be 1, therefore which results in this. And for the next one, we get the value of 2 is value of y as 2, and lastly 3. So the graphical representation of box of x looks like this. Okay, now let's try the next graph. The next one is g of x is equals to x minus box of x, which is the fractional portion of x. So at first we write different values corresponding to x and g. Suppose x equals to 0, then gx is also 0. X equals to 1 by 4, then it must be 1 by 4. X equals to half, then it must be half. X equals to 3 by 4, then it must be 3 by 4, as these are the fractional portion of x. If x equals to 1, then it must be 0. If x equals to 1 and a 1/4, then we get only 1/4. If x equals to 1 and a half, we get only half, and so on. Now let's draw the diagram. So this is the required coordinate axis. Now let's see, for x equals to 0, we have 0. For 1/4 we have 1/4. For half we have half. For 3/4 we have 3/4, and for 1 we have 0. Okay, so for 0 to less than 1, we get values of g which is less than 1 also. Therefore this looks like this. They must be less than 1, but they are increasing value. Now for 1 to rest, we get values which are also less than 1, but they are also increasing values. So they looks like this, and proceeding in this way we get the representation of x minus box of x as this. Okay, now let's try the third one. The third function is h of x, which is 1 by box of x. Okay, so at first we tabulate different values corresponding to x and h. The value of x, if it is 1, then we get 1 here. If it is 1 and 1/4, we get 1. If it is 1 and a half, we get also 1, and if it is 1 and 3/4, then we also get 1. If it is 2, then we get half. If it is 2 and a half, then we get half. If it is 2 and 3/4, we get half, and if it is 3, then we get 3/4. Now let's try to draw the diagram. So this is the required coordinate axis with x and hx. At the x-axis we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and at y-axis we have 1/3, half, and 1. So here the values of x are starting from 1, and for 1 we have 1, and for 1 and 1/4 we also have 1, and proceeding this way we have altogether 1 from 1 to 1 and 1 and 3/4. Okay, therefore we can say that from 1 to less than 2 we get 1 in each axis. Okay, now from 2 to 3 we get half. 2 to less than 3 we get half, and for 3 and 3 onwards we get 1/3. 3 onwards means 3 to less than 4 we get 1/3. Okay, so the required graph looks like this. Okay, so we draw 3 of the graphs, and this is the required answer. So that's all for today. And we Sardasa's classes provide different study materials and mock test series for ISI entrances, so you can join us. And for further details, you can check our website also, which is www.sardasasclasses.com, and please subscribe our YouTube channel to get the notification first. Thank you very much.